Welcome back. Now, democracy means different things to different people. We are now sitting down with Lisa and Tumi to find out what democracy means to them. Welcome back, ladies.
Thank you.
Now, when it comes to democracy, there are so many different rights that we all have to abide by and that we all have to live under. For yourselves, just to capture the idea of democracy, what does it mean to you?
For me, democracy is the privilege of freedom. And it's an obligation on me as a citizen to understand what democracy means, to be democratic, and to live the values that we fought for during the struggle.
No, I fully agree with that. I think the biggest thing for me is now being able, because after all that work that's been done, we don't want to wreck it. So as we are in a space of democracy, what does that mean to me now? Because as much as we're talking about rights, there's responsibility. So as much as I want to get my rights, there is also a huge responsibility upon myself to also be an upstanding human and a citizen of South Africa.
Yeah, and ladies, when it comes to freedom of speech and expression, what does that look like?
It encompasses so much. I mean, social media, for one example, is you can express your opinion freely. Then we have the arts, you know, from which we were isolated for so long, and with democracy came the possibility of, the globe opened up. So through the arts, you can get messages through to people. You can educate them around democracy and what our individual roles are. I'm very, very much about making a contribution and not always relying on the government. Because we've never had a government that covers all of us, right? So there are lots of mistakes happening and incompetence and everything. So that's where we, as citizens, step in, and we've got to make democracy work.
Absolutely. Speak out.
Because it's not just speech in terms of the language that you speak. It's what you say, how you say it, who you say it with, and the manner of respect that you use in that as well. Because when we talk about speech, now I'm now able to talk to anyone. It's not just that I'm able to speak. I'm influencing a lot of people, from young children who are watching us on television, from my child who I'm growing with, from people who I don't even know, you understand? So it is important for me to be able to, yes, have free speech, say as much as you want to be able to say, but also bear in mind the impact that that freedom of speech comes with.
And another thing that we have been speaking about, and I kind of touched base with it when it comes to Nikki, and she proudly waved up her old ID book, not card, ID book, the right to vote, the right to have a say. Lisa.
So important. I went to a private girls' school. I never knew about voting. I got to class one day, and the teacher wasn't there. They said she went to vote. So I didn't think anything of it. After break, she was back in the classroom. I put up my hand. I said, "How was the voting? I don't know what voting is." And then she said it was fine, but started getting red, you know. And then she said, I said, "So who did you vote for?" In the class, there was a massive gasp. And so she said, "That's the rudest, most disrespectful question you could ask. Sit down," which I did. And then I looked around the class to my friends for support, and they all said, "Such a stupid question."
Why would you ask that?
But it wasn't a stupid question, because on that day I learned that my parents couldn't vote. And so being able to be with them on the 27th of April to vote was monumental.
Meant the world.
You know, and so how I feel is we all have to take people with us. I teach my children, we teach our children to acknowledge the past, to understand it, because they've lived fairly privileged lives relative to what was happening pre-1994. So we don't pass the baggage on to them. We don't make them feel responsible. They're not apologetic, but they've got to be purposeful. We all have to be purposeful, and we can.
Oh, and just like that, that draws an end to what has been a very insightful conversation. Lisa, Tumi, it is always such a pleasure to be able to touch base with you and unpack not only what does freedom mean to us, but what democracy means. Let's all stand up for our democracy, because under our country's constitution, we are all equal. And that, people of South Africa, is something to be proud of.